I have a politically incorrect question for you. Welcome back, Susan. In part one, we talked about healing intergenerational trauma through using family constellation. Today, we are going to talk about the gift of being seen and understood and felt.
One of our deepest needs, I think, is to feel seen, to feel understood, to feel accepted in the fullness of who we are. And I think also one of our deep longings and sometimes pain is that we weren't able to fully see or understand, or our love wasn't understood by others in our family. So, one of the gifts of having a constellation, a family constellation done, taking part in that process.
And so I want to stop you for a second. If you have not watched the video, I invite you, I'm posting the link here, in which we talk about family constellation and what it is and how it helps basically unearth deep patterns and help people be seen and loved. So back to you, Susan.
So, in the first video, we were talking about how in a family constellation we have people standing in as family members, could be younger parts of myself, could be a symptom or an event in my life, even. So, I have people standing in and sharing what happens in their body, in their emotions, in their felt sense when they stand in the place of these elements of my family system. And because of it's so profound to have complete strangers stand in the place of family members and share things, being able to witness that myself with a little bit of distance, being able to have the other people in the room and myself, the facilitator, also witness this is how it was, is it's a very profound experience. It's deeply touching. One client described it as what was on the inside is now outside. Mm-hmm. And it's sort of like seeing a play of my life where I didn't give anybody a script, but somehow they improvised just exactly what was meaningful.
And they improvise without judgments because typically all these family stories come with so many judgments and put downs, and sadly humans have to put down others to feel better about themselves. Yeah.
Being able to, first of all, see in front of me as an observer the dynamics playing out, and say my representative saying, oh, when I stand here I have this intense headache, and the person has a history of headaches but they haven't mentioned it to us. There's no way we could have known that, and yet again there's this resonance. and 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 how the parents, for example, are maybe they're both looking off into the distance and not able to look at the child who's my client. Everyone in the room can see this would have been a very lonely place for any child to grow up, right? So there's this sense of I can see it myself out here, what happened. And everyone in the room can also kind of see what happened. We all have this sort of shared experience that brings this sense of my experience being witnessed in a way that would have taken 10 years of talking about it, and maybe even that wouldn't have gotten there, right?
Yep.
And here we can do this in in the first 15 minutes, we have an understanding of people that even their closest friends might not have of them.
So interesting. And so, in my experience of Family Constellation, there is a play that gets enacted, and we said, oh shit, that is exactly what happened. And so, what I'm seeing is some sort of a two-step process I hadn't seen before. The first step is to see it, but with no judgment. If I talk about my dad or my mom to a therapist, I'm going to be, this is my upset and they didn't do what they should have done, blah, 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 blah. So there is a lot of judgment and a built up resentment. So what seems to me is that the first thing is the story just shows up.
Yes.
And then your job is to basically bring up the love, volume so they can see and feel it.
And I think the intermediate step is
Yeah.
there's some context around what happened. It doesn't change what happened. It doesn't excuse it. It doesn't make it easier that it happened that way, but it helps us to understand and to have compassion and to open our hearts to the people in our family who, perhaps we come in with the judgment of they should have, they didn't, they could have, but they failed to. We come in with that perspective, and again, it doesn't mean that my childhood was great, but at least now I have some perspective on it where I see, oh, mom, dad, they didn't get this holding, they didn't get this attunement and presence with their parents, and so it just wasn't there to give to me, or maybe it went generations back, and through no one's fault but circumstances. Maybe great grandmother's father was died in a war or political conflict and she never saw him again, and the imprint of that carried through generations where fathers and children get separated and disconnected. And so here it's shown up in my life, and my first level of understanding is that was about me, or something I did, or something I could have done, or something about him that he could have overcome it or done something different. But when we see the sort of long line of fate and the full picture of context and these elements that were, again, nobody's fault,
I love it. So my specific interest, and people watching, this video most likely come here because they don't feel seen or loved by their partner. And so it's a context of a couple, of a romantic relationship. So as an individual, when we get our constellation made, I totally see, and I've seen again and again, that felt sense of feeling understood and accepted, and becoming more peaceful, and somehow, oh, this is my story, I don't have to fight against it anymore. So for their partner that comes with them, what role can that partner play in helping their beloved, who, like everybody, doesn't feel fully loved, doesn't feel fully accepted as human? How can I use Family Constellation as a way of embodying their love more? Because most everyone who is partnered with a person who doesn't feel fully loved longs to say, hey, I really love you, why don't you get it? So how can you do that?
So, first of all, I think the act of coming to the workshop or the session with your partner and being interested and being part of that in the witnessing role, you, there's a depth of understanding and appreciation that we have for our partners that where hopefully it takes some of that pressure off, because now we understand, oh yeah, my partner has a hard time fully receiving my love because there's this whole context that arrived before me, so I won't take it personally.
Yeah.
And I can be here and witness this and make space in my heart for my partner's family and their family history.
I
And
so see that.
that's
Yeah.
also a profound movement of love.
I have a politically incorrect question for you. Do men get more out of family constellation than women? And let me explain to you why. Is I see many men resisting going to therapy because therapy is talking about their feelings, which is something that men from birth have been taught to not go into. A man is tough, a man this, a man that. Plus, growing up, there is all that shaming and more shaming that men receive. And so, is this something about family constellation being in non-talk? Because you don't talk about your feelings, you just go in there and you create that play with very few words. So, is there something in which men get more from?
I don't think I could say that men get more from it, although I certainly think there's benefit for men, and perhaps, and you know again, I'm generalizing too, generalizing with the understanding there is cultural context and pressure on men that's different from women. uh, there might be benefit in having, I think of it kind of like an extended nervous system. It's like instead of I have to sit with my feelings or somehow get in touch with it, process it, whatever that means, by myself, I have now the nervous systems of also the people in the room where I can observe. I'm probably still feeling a lot, but I'm not alone in it, and there isn't an expectation that I'm doing it somehow by myself, which I think is perhaps a little bit of an antidote to that
Got it.
expectation that men just don't do it at all.
Yeah. Susan, thank you so much for this conversation, and I look forward to seeing you in part three, in which we are going to talk about how family constellations help us no longer being alone and end loneliness.
Thank you so much, Valdo.